Welcome back, F11 members, to the Fundamentals of Post-Production video tutorials for issue 77, June 2018, part 2. And what I'd like to do for a change this month is, instead of working on a landscape image, which we so often do, I thought we'd look at this portrait picture and just work through the post-production on this. Now, if I just go to the before and after of this image there, you can see I have done very, very little to the image. In fact, it's barely discernible. The one on the left is the before, the one on the right, the after. And really, this game of post-production is all about what you don't do as much as what you do. So let's just look at it. And actually, processing portraits is somewhat different to processing landscapes, different parameters. So let's talk it through. So I'm going to reset this picture and go back into Loop View and start from scratch. Okay, now with these kind of images, I often tend to, they happen quickly, fleeting opportunities. I try and compose as best I possibly can. I don't really want to crop an image unless I have to, but I could crop this image. Her head is somewhat central to the image, and I think looking at it, I may just choose to crop it just a hint. So I'm going to actually keep my 2:3 aspect ratio to the image here by locking the aspect ratio here. Click on that padlock here. And now what I'm going to just do is move in this corner here, just a touch here. Just move her slightly off center. There. Okay, click on done there. And now let's look at the image and say, well, what do I want to do to it? I can see I've got a few clipping shadows there in her mouth. That doesn't bother me one bit at all. Same point, I've kept detail in her dark hair here. So let's just, I don't need to adjust my black points at all, really. Good to look at my white points though. Hold down the Alt key and move the white slider to the right and see if I can just adjust my white point. I just start to clip there in the sky around about +40. So that's lifted the image. If I just go before and after now, you can see the one on the right, it's just got a little bit more sparkle. The one on the left looks just a touch flat in comparison. And now what would I want to do? Well, not much, quite frankly. Let's just come down here actually before we do anything else and address the issue of lens corrections. I'm going to apply my chromatic aberrations corrections. I do that to every picture. In fact, it happens at import. Now, do I want to apply lens corrections? If I click on here, it's picked up the lens I'm using, and as you can see, because I shot this at f1.2 maximum aperture, there's pretty significant vignetting going on, i.e. darkening of the corners of the image as compared to the bright image. It's a factor with all lenses, particularly very fast lenses when used at wide open maximum aperture. But actually, I like that darkening of the edges. I think it brings the attention to the face in the picture. So I'm not going to apply those corrections at all. I think looking at the image now, I just want to brighten it just a touch. So I'm going to use tone curve to do that here. And that's just lightened it up quite nicely there. Now, I'm very concerned with colors. You can easily over-egg the colors in a portrait. And she's got a pretty bright lipstick on there. So I've got nil vibrance dialed in at the moment, and I'm not going to apply any vibrance to the image either. Okay, let's come down and think now just about that background. And as I said, I wanted to basically not apply, I chose not to apply lens corrections, but I want to actually increase that effect by darkening down the edges. So I'm going to use the radial tool here to do that. And it's this tool here. And what it enables you to do is select an area like this, basically her face there. Now I make sure I come down here to feather. I'm going to go to maximum feather here. And now I'm just going to, this will just darken down the edges a bit. Can you see the effect? That's going way, way too far. So I'm going to just put the merest hint of darkening on those edges. Just a touch there. Move the circle out a bit as well. Okay, that's worked okay. All these really subtle adjustments here. And I just want to hold in the top of the frame there as well. So I'm going to apply a grad. Okay, so hold down the shift key and bring the grad down from the top. And just apply the merest hint of darkness to the top of the image, just to hold the image in. Go for a really soft grad there. Now the thing is, you can see that taking effect. I really don't want it to have any effect on the top of her head. So if I click down here on Show Selected Mask Overlay there, and now I can choose to erase that area of the mask overlay so that the grad is not affecting her head. So if I come along here and go to Edit, Brush, and come down here and click on Erase, and make sure Auto Mask is selected, and then adjust the size of my brush correspondingly, and go for a pretty big brush size here. And now I'm going to paint away that area of red, which is showing me the where the effect of the grad is taking place. So because I've got mask overlay selected, it's going to pick up that edge, and it's really neatly deselecting that area of the top of the head, so the grad is only really affecting her, the sky, and not her head. Very, very flexible tool, the grad tool in Lightroom. Use it a lot, as you well know. Click off Show Selected Mask Overlay, and now I can just refine that a bit. I could opt to put just a bit more of darkness in on the sky there, just to sort of serves to hold the picture in at the top of the frame there. Click on Done. Now let's come down here, and you know that I tend to use the Lightroom's sharpening preset for my sharpening my landscapes. That works well, but in this particular case I'm going to take all sharpening out for the moment. And let's just zoom in on her eye here. Now the worst thing you can do to a portrait is over sharpen it. It really, really looks horrible. And in fact, I know some people who use negative sharpening or negative clarity on an image, on their portrait images, just to introduce a little bit of softness. If I put sharpness in, you can see the effect it has on the image. And I think really in this case, what I'm going to do, Lightroom here has a sharpening effect called Sharpen Faces, and I think that's quite a good one to select for this kind of subject. Now, if I were photographing some craggy old geezer with a wrinkled, bearded face, then I'd probably want to really accentuate every detail, every wrinkle. But with a young face like this, I think a softer approach is beneficial, and I think using Lightroom's Sharpen Faces preset is the way to go. Now what I'm going to do also is adjust my masking. You know how I do that. I hold down the Alt key and I move the masking slider so that I'm really only selecting the area of the image I want to. So where the black is, no sharpening is taking place. That's the sky essentially. So around about plus 30 is right. And there we go. That's the sharpening taken care of. Okay, and if I look at the image now and I go back to where I started, you'll see the one on the left, the one on the right, pretty minimal difference, but the difference is there. It's all about subtlety. It's all about knowing what to do and what not to do. And always remember, if in doubt, do nothing. So there you go. Thanks for your attention, and we hope to hear from you with your suggestions for future subjects in these video tutorials.